My name is Daniel Schnall, and I'm an admissions officer here at WashU. I'm actually your admissions officer if you're in Indiana, Ohio, Kentucky, West Virginia, or Western Pennsylvania. And I'm also a proud alum of the College of Arts and Sciences. And I'd like to again congratulate you on your acceptance to WashU. You have all worked so hard and achieved so much already. We are so looking forward to all of the great things that you'll continue to accomplish in your next 4 years and even beyond that. This evening, we're going to share a little bit more about the daily life of a WashU student. You're going to hear from current students all about their academic and extracurricular and social lives as WashU Bears. And throughout the webinar, please feel free to send in any questions you have via the Q&A box, and we'll do some Q&A and answer as many of those as we can at the end. So to kick things off, I'd like to have each of our students introduce themselves with their name, hometown, and what you're studying. And let's go Noah, then Miranda, then Isaac, and then Aja.
Hi, everyone. My name's Noah. I'm a first year from Cherry Hill, New Jersey. I am in the Beyond Boundaries program, which is an interdisciplinary program. Kind of allows us to find new interests and combine multiple disciplines. But I'm affiliated right now with the Olin Business School, and I'm pursuing a double major in finance and statistics.
Hi everyone, my name is Miranda. I'm from North Potomac, Maryland. I am a first year and I'm studying chemistry on the pre-med track.
Hi, I'm Isaac. I'm from Haverford, Pennsylvania, which is a suburb of Philadelphia, and I'm also a first year. I'm in the College of Arts and Sciences, majoring in economics and double majoring in Olin in organizational and strategic management, and also picking up a minor in Chinese language and culture. A lot of words.
Hi, everyone. I'm Aja. I'm a junior in the College of Arts and Sciences studying psychology, education, and American culture studies, and I am originally from Chicago.
All right, thank you all so much for being here with us tonight. Let's go ahead and start by learning more about a day in the life. So today being Wednesday, could each of you briefly describe kind of what a typical Wednesday looks like for you?
Yeah, so on a Wednesday, I'll usually wake up. I get up around I get up early most days because I try to go to the gym in the mornings on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Right now, you have to sign up online, but I usually sign up when I go for the next day after the next day. And I go there for about an hour, come back, take a bit of a break, and I have economics class at microeconomics in the business school at around 1. Then I have a recitation for this first year program called When I'm 64. It's about aging. And after that, I spend some time with friends in the afternoon, get some work done, and have dinner.
Yeah, for me, I have class from 10 to 12. I have bio and chemistry. And then I usually go get lunch at Stanley's, which is like my favorite sushi place on campus. Highly recommend. And then usually I like go for a walk with a friend or go play spike ball or something. And then I'll get like homework done, grab dinner and study or hang out with friends.
Yeah, so my first class on Wednesdays is at 11. So today, for example, I had to get up a little bit earlier because I had a project due. So I got up around 8:45, finished up this group project I had to FaceTime someone. So we worked on the project. Then on Wednesdays, I have class like 11 to 12, 12 to 1, and 1 to 2:30. So I have them all packed together. I kind of actually prefer it that way, just get everything done. So I had like a granola bar like right before, and then I was pretty hungry, so I just went to BD Bears Den, which is the on campus cafeteria, which is in the South 40 where all the freshmen live. Um, oh, and also the classes I had today were Chinese, college writing, and microeconomics. And then after I got lunch with a friend, I did some homework. Then I took a little walk around campus with another friend, and then I go back to my room and get some more work done and get dinner.
My day is pretty similar to the other panelists, what everybody said. I wake up kind of early, 8:30. I make breakfast. My first class isn't until 11:30, so I normally do some work before then, or if I have any errands to run since I'm living off campus this year. Today specifically, I went on campus to do two of my classes. I have a kind of fun class today. I have a class on Kanye West. So Mondays and Wednesdays are normally pretty cool because talking about Kanye. And then, like the other panelists, I normally eat dinner, maybe catch up with some friends, do some homework. It kind of depends on the day.
Thanks, thanks. You've talked a little bit about some of your classes. I would love to hear, could one or two of you describe how you decided on your division when you applied or your majors once you were here, especially for those of you who entered without being 100% sure of your major? This is a great place to explore, but what WashU resources have you used to help navigate what you're studying? And I would especially love to hear from Noah on this too, about Beyond Boundaries and a little bit more about that program and what that entails.
Yeah, so in regards to my own interests, I've always had a strong affinity for math and specifically statistics. I took stat in high school. I really enjoyed it. And I wanted to learn more on how data specifically interacts with other fields, whether that be business, psychology, economics, poli sci, anything along those lines, where data is so integrated into our daily life. And the Beyond Boundaries program really appealed to me because it allowed me to connect multiple interests while still pursuing that quantitative lane that I wanted to be in. And really the main resources that we have extra advising, we take specific classes, specifically the 1M64 class that I'm a part of. It's a really interesting class. We're working with St. Louis communities and organizations around the St. Louis community to talk about how they're prepared for aging of society, and just really speaking with advisors from arts and sciences, Olin Business School, and Beyond Boundaries. We also have a seminar course we take, which is fun.
Yeah, so I can go. When I applied to WashU, I was had some ideas of what I wanted to study, but wasn't really sure. There was like a point in time where I really thought I was going to transfer into Olin, the business school, but I wasn't sure if I wanted to stay in art sci and study economics. There's also an economics and strategy major in Olin, so I was kind of conflicted on those. And in order to transfer into Olin, you have to take two classes in Olin. So this semester, I decided to take two classes in Olin, microeconomics in Olin, and because that you also could take that in arts and sciences. And I also took management 100, which I'm both in right now, and I really like both of them, and they really inspired me to keep staying in business. But I thought, at first I thought like double majoring and minoring, I thought that I would want to have some free time or some like ability to take a lot of classes that I just enjoyed and not have to be super rigid. But from talking to my advisor, I realized it was like very doable to double major and minor, and I could still take a lot of other interesting classes and study abroad. So once I realized that, I thought double majoring and minoring would be really good. And that's really what I want to study. So
Aja, what's been your favorite academic experience at WashU, either inside or outside of the classroom?
Yeah, so my favorite academic experience was actually my very first class that I went to my first day of my freshman year. I thought that the class was from 10 a.m. to noon, and the class was actually from 10 p.m. until midnight. Um, and it was a class on dog breeds. And just the professor was super cool. He would bring his dog to class every Monday night, and he would bring us like snacks and stuff because he said that he knew like, the hours were so like weird and unconventional. And it was a class where we kind of just talked about different research papers on like different dog breeds and just like injuries and diseases and whatnot that dogs have. And I just thought the whole atmosphere, the professor, the snacks, I thought everything was just super cool.
Cool, cool. And Miranda, how would you describe your relationship with some of the professors and faculty?
Yeah, my relationship's been awesome. Kind of ties into why I chose my major. I kind of came into college knowing I wanted to do something on the STEM track, but I wasn't positive what. And the general chemistry professors, is specifically when I came into college, were the most helpful and engaging. And really awesome professors. They have office hours multiple times a week, and they were super available and willing to chat. And even like on a personal level, I've really connected with the two general chemistry professors. And it's honestly been great to be able to have those like one-on-one conversations, and you really get to know the professors outside the classroom, and they're all super willing to help inside the classroom as well.
Great. Miranda, I also see a question in the chat I think I want to direct your way to in the Q&A. Are the classes difficult, and do you take non-pre-med classes too?
That's a great question. The classes are definitely challenging, but they're super manageable. And there are a ton of resources to help with the classes. So, like I said, there's office hours, and there are other student groups where you can go and work on practice problems throughout the week. So, I would say they're definitely challenging. They're STEM classes, but they're super manageable. And I've definitely found it to be really great so far. And then I am taking non-pre-med classes. I'm really excited next semester to take a class on magic and how that's like gone out throughout the years. And I'm also took a college writing class my freshman year, and I'm in neuroscience, which isn't technically a pre-med class. So even though I'm on the pre-med track, there's a lot of flexibility with still being able to take other classes, and I've been able to take plenty. So it's been a good balance.
Awesome. On a similar note, there's another question in the chat about how hard it is to schedule classes. So could one of you speak about what it's like to meet with your advisor and then to schedule classes?
Yeah, I can do that. So I really like my advisor. He like really checks up on me a lot, and we almost have meetings like every 2 or 3 weeks, and we just like end up chatting the whole time. But I really like the structure that WashU has for signing up for classes. So in advance, you're given a specific registration time, and in between, and then until then, you can go onto the website and like look at all of the different courses and put them into your schedule yourself and place them at whatever times that you want. And you can like have a second sheet for if you're not able to get into those first classes that are your number one choices. Um, so you can really build the schedule yourself, but it's also great talking to your academic advisor, because I remember there was some distribution requirement that I was a little bit confused about just a few weeks ago, and I talked to my advisor, and he made it very clear, and he actually showed me there was a whole technology to like show me how to do it. It's called an integrated inquiry. It's a little confusing if you're in arts and sciences, but he's really, even though he's not in anywhere, he's like a German professor. He has nothing to do really with my area, and I will get uh, advisors who are within my area once I declare my major. I have my majors and minors. I haven't done any of that yet, just because I'm a freshman. Um, but like I just talked to him, and he really is able to guide me through the process. And also, even if I didn't meet with him, it's pretty intuitive that you can really build it yourself, which I really like. So I don't like taking classes in the morning, so I can try to just put everything in the afternoon.
Yeah, I agree with Isaac. The process is definitely super easy. And then in terms of getting into classes, I can speak like specifically for the STEM classes. I've had no problem. I've gotten into every single introductory STEM class that I've tried to get into, and it's been really smooth process. So at least for pre-med, it's been really nice to not have to worry about if I'm going to get into a class or not. So it's been really smooth.
Yeah, my experience as a student was just like that too. Not only Isaac, I love doing the back-to-back-to-back scheduling, but the way things work is I was able to get into every single class that I wanted to take by the time I graduated. Now, Isaac, you mentioned distribution requirements, and I wanted to at least talk a little bit more about what that means, which is that we don't have any core curriculum. So there's no required class that you have. These distribution requirements mean that you have to take classes within certain categories, but you'll have sometimes 100 or more classes to choose from to fulfill some of those requirements. So it's really, really flexible, and something that I think makes it a lot easier to fulfill the graduation requirements by taking classes you really, really enjoy. I'd like to move ahead to some questions about our extracurricular and social life, but like I said before, I see some questions in the chat, and I hope we'll have some in the Q&A. I hope we'll have some time to answer those a little bit later. I'm curious to know what the balance is like between your academics and your extracurricular life at WashU.
I can answer this one. So one major aspect that I found very engaging is that just in general, I've met people through my classes and I've studied with them, and sometimes we'll meet for dinner and we'll have dinner outside or when it's nice, or safely in Bears Den when there's plexiglass COVID-19 safety. And we'll sometimes go study afterwards, or we'll go maybe play frisbee or something. To really depends on the night. If there's a big exam, then maybe we might not do that as much, but I try to make sure that I have that balance there sometimes.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's actually a really great balance here at WashU. For me personally, I am pre-med, so I work really hard, especially during the week, but I have like plenty of free time. I literally went outside and played spike ball with my friends yesterday. On the weekends, we go get brunch every morning, and I just think it's been a really great balance. And I think a lot of people here are really like-minded, and that, school is important and get work done, but it's also really important to have a balance. So I've like found some of my best friends and we've had really fun times, and while also like balancing schoolwork. So it's been great.
Yeah, just going off of that, kind of what Miranda said, I think it's just very important to make time for your friends, to make time for yourself, that when you're not like doing homework, you're not studying for anything, it's really just your personal time. And I think finding those like snippets throughout the day really do add up. Yesterday, for example, I asked my roommate if she wanted to go get some gelato. We had never tried this gelato place, and I told her I found it, and we went, and it was like a great experience. And it didn't even take a lot of planning. It didn't take a lot of time. So I think the balance at WashU is really good, but you also have to make time for yourself and for your friends.
So outside of the gelato and outside of the Wednesdays, could you tell us about one or two of the things that each of you are involved with outside of class? That could be on campus, it could be in the greater city of St. Louis, but just anything you're doing outside of the classroom.
Yeah, I could go. So I'm involved with a few clubs at WashU. I recently started working with admission, so that's pretty exciting. But the one that I really enjoy is called Consult Your Community, which is a consulting club at WashU that's also kind of a volunteering thing because you provide consulting advice to local St. Louis businesses pro bono. So last semester, my team worked with a local handbag company, and it was just a really cool experience. Working in a team and meeting sorts of people. There were some people who in my group who were from Sam Fox. There were some people who were in Olin, some people in Artside, and it was like a group of 5 kids, and it was really nice to create connections with all those people. But it was also something that I'm really interested in, and getting like real life experience about consulting and businesses and working directly with a client was a really cool experience. I also volunteer every Thursday. I do tutoring with a local school in the St. Louis area, which I really enjoy. And I'm also in the WashU Chinese table, and I have a one-on-one language partner. So I every Sunday I meet with this kid, and he's from China. He's actually in the law school. I speak in Mandarin and he speaks in English, and we're both like helping each other learn the language a little bit better.
Yeah, that's awesome. For me, I've kind of tried to find clubs that expand my interests. So, like, while I am a chem major, I'm also in a business fraternity on campus. So we kind of meet once a week, and you work on professional skills like building your resume and a LinkedIn and interview skills, which has been really fun. And it's also just a great way to meet people in other colleges with other majors. So I've like made a lot of friends and found a really good community through my business fraternity. So I like highly recommend one of those. And you don't have to be a business major to do a business fraternity. I think that it's been really helpful for me, even as a chemistry major, to kind of get introduced to, looking for jobs and how to work with employers and possibly go into the business field. So that's been really fun.
When I think of things I did outside of the classroom, I think of some of my favorite traditions at WashU. And my favorite was one that's on hold for right now. It's Wild, which is just a huge concert. It's put on in the Quad twice a year. And there are huge acts that come to this. In recent years, there was Childish Gambino, the All American Rejects, Chance the Rapper. I think the coolest thing about it, though, is that it's actually entirely student run. So sure, there are these huge acts, but it's the WashU Social Programming Board that decides the bands to invite. They put together all the logistics and the budget. They even helped the band's crew build the stage the day of the show, which I always thought was just awesome. So while it's on hold because of the pandemic right now, we're sure hopeful that we'll be able to bring Wild back once we're able to. Even though I've already graduated, I can still go back to Wild and enjoy that tradition. Can any of you talk about some of your favorite WashU traditions?
Yeah, the first one that comes to mind for me, I guess it's technically called Moonlight Breakfast, but everybody at WashU mostly calls it Moonlit Breakfast because it's just such a lit time. The dining hall is, I mean, it's always open, but they serve breakfast normally from like 10 p.m. to midnight. And it turns into just this big party. There's dancing, there's people playing music, there's like sing alongs. It's just a really great time, especially to feel like a sense of community. It's very nice.
I've never heard moonlit breakfast before. That's a good phrase. I'm gonna have to take that from you. Anyone else favorite traditions? Okay, I see some questions in the Q&A about the first year experience. And I'm sure many students right now are wondering about that first year experience and what that transition is like as you go from high school to college. Could you talk about your transition during your first year at WashU?
Yeah, so one really exciting aspect I remember about just coming to WashU is that when you come here in August, September, around that time, it's generally very nice out. And I remember even with the restrictions that were in place, we were able to, you have this period of time, it's called Bare Beginnings, where it's this orientation period where you would have these meetings with a student associate that would really, called a WUSA, WashU student associate, that would help orient you to the new environment. And I remember every single day after class, it was just meetings to discuss what life is like here at WashU. A bunch of my friends that I had made through this group, because you're in this smaller group, this subsect, we would go grab food and eat outside in a big circle and just talk. And through that, we made new friends. And you make friends with certain people, and then you meet their people they know, people who may live with them. And it's just interconnected circles that all converge. And it's really exciting.
Yeah, I think like two major aspects of kind of transitioning from high school to college was kind of like academically and then socially. For me, socially, I've been able to find a lot of really great friends here. I met my best friend just on the first week sitting outside the volleyball courts, and we just walked up to each other and we're like bumped into each other and started talking, and she's literally one of my best friends now. And there's also like so many clubs you can join, even though some of them are virtual, but some socially distanced things. And I think it's WashU, since all the freshmen are on the South 40, it really helps. All of the friends you meet are a 5-minute walk away or less, and it's really a good way to like meet other freshmen. And I think having that community has made it a lot easier to find friends and kind of branch out. And then academically, I think there's definitely a little bit of a shift in kind of working on time management and workload. It's definitely been super manageable, and WashU has so many resources to help, and the professors are super accommodating and super willing to like work with you. And I think because we are all living together on campus, it's been really helpful to have so many like friends in my classes and professors that are available. So it's made the academic transition also really easy. So overall, I think it's been pretty smooth. So.
Yeah, definitely. It's been a really great transition for me too. I remember socially, I was really nervous coming to school. Like, I also hadn't really interacted with that many people for a long time because of COVID and stuff. So I was like nervous that my social skills had all died. Um, but I was really able to meet some of like the greatest people I've ever met. And one memory that like really stands out to me was, I think it was the second day, and I was just sitting outside of my dorm with like one friend that I had made, and there was like a big group of people who were there, and just something happened, and I started talking to them, and I like joined, me and my other friend, we joined the bigger group, and then some other people came, all socially distanced, of course, and then we all went and walked to the loop, the Del Mar Loop, which is an area near campus with a lot of stores. We all just got ice cream together, and those were people that I just like met sitting outside, and they were some really, really nice people that I always see all the time. And you just meet a lot of people. Like you meet someone, then you meet their suite mate, and then you meet other people just walking around or in your classes or through clubs. There's lots of different ways to meet people, and you end up like meeting lots of people, and then you can find out uh, who's like really going to be the people that you click with the most. And then academically, it's definitely a transition, but I wouldn't say it's necessarily more hard. It's just a lot more different. Um, because when you're in high school, you have every class basically every day, or at least that's what it was like in my high school. But at college, you have most classes like 2 or 3 times a week. And you have a lot less of the busy work, the things that are just due every day, and the teacher just looks at it to see if you did it. Most of the things that you have to turn in, you actually do have to put in effort into it, which is a little scary, but it's also good that you realize that everything you're learning, you're actually learning it, and it's something that is going to help you. If not like the actual material, but just learning how to read like an academic piece of paper, or to write something really well, just making sure all of those skills are really there. It's really important. And time management is a really big thing, because you have like less due dates due every day. You really have to, like, the onus is really on yourself to figure out when you're going to do your work. So you just have to kind of figure that out. And I think that that's something that everyone has to figure out. And there's so many resources at WashU to help you and different advisors that it makes the transition really smooth.
I am seeing some really amazing questions in the Q&A. I hope we can get to a lot of these. So one more question I'm going to ask about that first year experience before we move on to those questions is, I'm seeing questions about the dorms. So what was your first year living experience like, and how has it changed?
I had an amazing first year living experience. I lived in Koenig. It was a modern triple. And I did see a question about roommates, so I'm going to try to do like my roommate spiel really quickly. I basically stalked my roommate. There was like a Facebook group for whatever. And so I stalked her, and I kind of forced her into living with me. And then she brought in another girl, and I didn't know the two of them previously, and we really hit it off. They became two of my closest friends at WashU. We loved our modern triple. We would not have traded it for the world. And I'm a junior now, and I'm still living with one of my roommates who I lived with my first year. And next year, she's living with one of the girls who we also lived with, and I'm going to be an RA. So it's a lot of changes and transition, but my first year really did set me up with amazing friends and a great living experience.
I've really enjoyed my first year living experience. I am in Heitzman. It is a traditional suite. So right now I have a double room, and it's 2 double rooms and 2 single rooms. So it's anywhere from 4 to 6 people depending on the year. Right now it's just me and two other people. We share a bathroom, we have a balcony and a very large common room, which is very nice. And I went random, and I'm really happy because it worked out where we're all very like-minded and share similar interests, while also we're respectful of each other's, I don't know, preferences, I guess. So they're not staying up really late playing loud music. And really, it's just been a very nice experience. And I've made some friends I'm planning to room with next year that we just recently went through the selection process.
Yeah, for sure. For me, I lived in the dorm called Liggett. It's actually connected to Koenig. And it's been really great. I live in a 4-person suite with 3 other girls. I requested one of them, and then we got paired up with 2 random people. And I think like the way they did the process was really good because all of our like living preferences line up really well, and the 4 of us live really, really well together. We share a bathroom, and we have a common room, which is super nice. And I was put with the girl that I was requested. I think WashU does a really good job of that. And I think just living on the South 40 in general, you get to meet so many people on your floor, in your building, other freshmen, and it's been a really great experience so far.
Yeah, my experience was very similar to Miranda's. I'm in Elliott B, which is normally sophomore dorm, but it's a modern suite with 4 guys living together, and I requested one of them to be in a double, but because of COVID, all freshmen and everyone who's living on campus isn't like living with another person, so everyone's in a single, even if it's a room meant to be a double. But my room is meant to be a single, but I have plenty of space. We all share a bathroom, and I have a really big and really nice common room with like a couch and a table and everything. It's really nice. Yeah, I definitely agree with Miranda. Me and all of my suite mates, all of our living styles really match up well together. I've never had any issues. They're all really nice. Yeah, I have no problems. I really like living in Elliott B. It's also connected to Bears Den, which is the cafeteria. So it's really convenient. You don't even have to go outside to get food.
Doesn't get much better than that, connected to Bears Den. So a lot of you were talking about the people you met and the community you were able to build with your roommates. I'm curious to learn a little bit more about the other amenities in the dorm. Do you have laundry nearby, kitchens? What can you access from your dorm?
This is like my favorite thing about Liggett. We have a printer in our dorm. It is so convenient because we have to print a lot. Well, not that much, but yeah, we have a printer in the dorm. And then we have a main common room on each floor. It has a kitchen, couches. There's like ping pong tables. There's foosball tables. In the basement, there's a bunch of different study rooms you can go to. There's also like a foosball table, and then there's like a TV area with like a lounge. There's like a kitchen on every floor. And then there's study rooms on every floor, so it's really nice. Like sometimes it's hard to do work in my room, so I always go to the study room like with a few friends and just get work done there. So yeah, the building is awesome.
I think Miranda pretty much covered it, but I also want to say, at least in LK, there are like vending machines in the basement and they come in clutch.
Yes, definitely.
Now you called it LK. Could you tell the students what LK stands for and what that means?
LK is Koenig and Liggett. It's the residential college, but they are the first year and sophomore dorms, or I guess one of them. They're one of the freshman and sophomore dorms.
Yes, and they're amazing. So I'm going to move into the Q&A here, but before I jump into those questions, I'm going to ask our students to type their email addresses in the chat. So again, I hope to be able to get to as many of these questions as we can, but if not, feel free to contact them afterwards if you have a question about their experience, their academic involvement, and things like that, and we are not able to get to it. So the first question I have here is, how much homework do you have, and how many classes do you typically take in a day or in a week?
For me, it really depends on the day. I normally have 3 classes a day. Sometimes like another, I'll have four and one being like a subsection. Um, but I think I know a lot of friends who like will have no classes on Thursdays or something, but my schedule just lined up. They have like only like 2 or 3 classes every day. Um, the amount of homework I feel like really depends on the day. Because everything is like a lot more loose. It's not a lot of hard deadlines except for exams or something like that, or like an essay. Uh, you can kind of really do it at your own pace. Like if you know that you have a lot of readings coming up for next week, you can start doing them when you have time, which I really like. I like doing a lot of my homework early if I have the opportunity, but I'd say probably just like a few hours of homework every day. Of course, like tomorrow I have a midterm, so I'm going to be studying probably a lot more today than an average day. But yeah, it's very manageable. And one thing I do like is because like all of my friends are living so close, I spend a lot of time doing homework with my friends, like in BD in the cafeteria. I often like do homework so I can like kind of be social and doing work at the same time, which is really nice. So it's not like I'm just like sitting there doing homework for like multiple hours straight. I can also like get up and go on a walk with a friend or something, and I can really break it up and make myself really happy.
Um, yeah, so for me, I definitely have a decent amount of work. I, unlike Isaac, I don't really have a lot of essays. I have a lot more like problem sets and then like studying for quizzes and exams. But like he said, it's super manageable. And I 100% agree with the fact that like studying is also social at some points. My friend and I will like text like, yeah, let's go to the study room. And then we take a break and talk about life. But yeah, so I would say as like pre-med, taking a lot of the introductory STEM courses, they're definitely challenging and it's a lot of work, but it's also it's very like well spread out, I would like to say. I think that like I find it really manageable. I'm in like chemistry, bio, calculus, and then college writing and or neuroscience, and it's been really manageable to kind of like break up my problem sets throughout the week. So it's definitely work, but it's manageable for sure.
In comparison to what Isaac was saying, my schedule is very varied. On Monday, I have one class. Tuesday, I have 4 classes. Wednesday, I have 2, none on Friday, and then 1 on Thursday. For me, aside from Tuesday, I know I can't get up on time. I really like the freedom that we get with scheduling, particularly because I don't take intro chemistry, I don't take bio. So I'm not required to take those like 8 a.m. classes. My earliest class, aside from Tuesday, is a 1 p.m. So I like going to the gym in the morning to keep a routine. But also, unlike both Miranda and Isaac, I take mainly quantitative classes. So accounting, microeconomics, statistics. And then fortunately, Beyond Boundaries is allowing me, has offered the opportunity for me to take a different course that just relates to different disciplines. And really the work, it's all time management. That was the biggest adjustment where you have to make sure you get certain things on time, where I've definitely had those moments where a professor will assign something due in like 3 weeks, and then we get to 3 days before, and then my partner and I are complaining that we didn't have time to do it when we actually did. So it's entirely about just thinking, hey, I have this assignment coming up. Maybe I could try to knock part of it out today while still having time to go and grab dinner with a friend or go for a walk or go play frisbee, anything along those lines.
So it sounds like each of you have widely different schedules, but still have carved out some free time to do more than just be in class and studying and really getting to engage with the city too. There are questions about kind of the stress level at WashU, and I just want to ask you how you would rate the stress levels for you when it comes to the academics and some of the work.
Overall, I would probably rate the stress level a 5. Just thinking about like everything as a whole, because there are some weeks that are really stressful. I would probably rate like that week itself probably a 9. But there are also other weeks where the assignments aren't piling up, like my classes aren't that rough, and I would probably rate it like a 2 or 3. And so the semester overall, the classes overall, the environment overall, I would probably rate it a 5.
I'm gonna have to agree. On that one, I like to give an example. Literally last week, I would say the beginning of the week, I had a big midterm. I was probably at a 9, probably 9.5. I was so stressed. And then I finished that midterm and I was like at a 1. I had no work. I was hanging out with my friends. So it definitely fluctuates a lot. And I also think that even when I am really stressed, I feel like I always kind of have something I can take a break with, like go watch a show with a friend or go for a walk or go play spike ball or something. Sorry, I play a lot of spike ball. But yeah, so I think that there are definitely times where my stress level is really high, especially with like exams, but there's always that like balance that comes, once I finish and it's a lot easier. So it definitely fluctuates, but I would definitely say overall around a 5.
I'm gonna, oh, sorry, Isaac.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I would definitely agree with Aja and Miranda. It's definitely like depends on the time. Like I definitely have some weeks that are a lot worse than others. Um, but I think one thing that's really different, especially from high school, is I feel like a lot of what made me stressed out in high school was like being around other people who were maybe a little bit competitive about grades or things like that. And I feel like WashU is really a collaborative community. And I know like people say that all the time, but at WashU, it's really true. Like my friends are the people who like do not stress me out, even the ones who are in my classes. They always make me feel better, which is really good. So I feel like the only stress I have is really self-induced if I have like something important coming up. But also just because of the schedule of WashU and college in general, like I would go to high school really early in the morning, and then because of sports and other clubs, I'd have to come home really late at night and then start all my work. You don't really have to do that at college. You know, if you're like Noah, you can really make sure you start classes really late if you want to sleep in. And I mean, most days my first class is at 11, so I feel like I can sleep in a lot too. Um, and it's really just, I think a lot of it is based off self pressure, and I think in a community that is so collaborative and so inclusive and welcoming, people aren't the type to make you really stressed out. So I honestly don't feel stressed out too much.
I'm just going to reiterate what everybody else is saying. Going off of what Miranda said much earlier, everybody here is very like-minded, where they're very focused and driven, but they also recognize that sitting for maybe 6 hours at a time is not going to accomplish the same, is going to accomplish essentially the same thing as sitting for like 3 if you're just studying. And they recognize the time that you need to take a break, where most people are like, hey, I did this for X amount of time. Now I'm going to take 20 minutes to go meet up with a friend for coffee or something like that instead. And it's funny because there's a lot of pre-med students here at WashU, and you'll like everybody's saying, it comes in waves where the days leading up to an exam gets gradually much more stressful just because it's the day of the exam eventually, and then after it gets quiet. Kind of like the calm after the storm, where if there's a chem exam on a specific night, you'll know, but then afterwards it's calm and it's nice and everybody's really there to support each other.
All right, one last question about the academic experience here. I know we heard a little bit about Kanye West, I think a little earlier, but what's the most interesting or unique class that you've taken?
One of my favorite classes that I took, it has nothing to do with anything I'm actually studying, was last semester. I took a first year seminar called Jewish Culture in the 21st Century. I just I'm Jewish, and I really want to learn more about like my culture and kind of other ways that Judaism has been throughout America. And it was a really just interesting, fun class, like not too difficult, but I was able to have really fun readings about things that I thought I knew about but didn't actually. And it was just really nice having discussions about like Judaism, Jewish culture, in like looking at something that I would have just thought of as kind of non-academic, but in an academic way was really interesting and fun.
One of my unique classes as a student was on sports and society. And I think the coolest thing in that class was that the professor knew Bob Costas, and Bob Costas came and guest taught one of those classes. So that I couldn't believe my eyes when he actually came in. But it's not every day you can learn from someone like that on a topic like that. Now, shifting gears completely, what's your favorite place to eat or your favorite meal on campus?
All right. They're tied, so I have to say both. The chicken Caesar salad from Parkside is the best Caesar salad on campus, and honestly, like top 10 I've ever had in my life. It is so, so, so good. And then also, I already mentioned this, but Stanley's is a sushi place, and their Rainbow California roll is so good. So I would have to say those two are my top go-tos when I'm like studying or when I'm celebrating. So
As I mentioned, I have a very busy Tuesday schedule, and most of the time just it's a lot of classes, and that's just the way my schedule worked out this semester. But I am a major advocate for Tikka Tuesdays, which every Tuesday they have chicken and tofu tikka masala at Bears Den, and I look forward to it every Tuesday, and I always make sure to get it. I really enjoy it.
I'm not sure if it's because I don't live on campus anymore, and so I haven't been able to have it, but I have to go with the standard half and half from Bears Den. A half and half is just chicken tenders and french fries. And after a long night, after not even a long night, after a good afternoon, after anything, a half and half is a good time.
Yeah, definitely big fan of the half and halves. But I think my favorite one is you can get an egg sandwich and then you can add like cheese and bacon and tomato and spinach and it like becomes like a bacon, egg, and cheese. I like absolutely love it. And what's nice is you can get it any time of the day, even though it's like a breakfast food. Like I love breakfast food, but a lot of the times I don't wake up in time to eat the breakfast food. So I can get that like any time of the day and it just makes me really happy.
In case you were wondering, the right answer was half and half because it's the greatest meal ever on campus. Um, but shifting gears again, what research experiences or internship experiences have you had so far?
Okay, I can talk about this. So this summer I'm participating in a research program. It's not on campus. It's at the National Institute of Standards and Technology. It's called NIST. I'm working in a biological chemical materials lab. But kind of to tie it to WashU. So I really wanted to apply for this, like it's an undergraduate research fellowship, and I really, really wanted to apply, and I needed a recommendation from a scientist or like an academic mentor. And like I mentioned a lot earlier in the panel, I like connected a lot with my general chemistry professors, and they were super willing to help with anything. And I emailed one of them, and he like helped me out with a recommendation and like kind of talked me through it. And the professors here like really want you to succeed, and especially with like getting research opportunities. So that was like really helpful, kind of a way that WashU kind of helped me get my research experience. And then I have a lot of friends that at WashU, you're really encouraged to reach out directly to professors. I would honestly, when you come here, go on the website, find professors that you're interested in, look at their work, and send them an email. And you might not get the first or second one, but honestly, like they're super responsive. And I know a lot of people that have gotten research just from directly emailing the professors, and they're super open to working with underclassmen and even like freshmen and sophomores. So research is definitely really, really accessible here. You just have to put yourself out there, and like you will find it.
Just a plug for the Office of Undergraduate Research for the students out there. You can check that out. We have our own office where you can help get connected with faculty members and research on our campus. Next question, is there a physical space or what resources exist for students of color at WashU?
I saw that question, and the first physical space that came to mind, it's very low key. It's not necessarily a resource even, but in the Duck or the Danforth University Center, it's a little bit of everything on campus. I guess it's considered like an eating spot on campus. It's a place that students go after class. You can have class in there. It's just like an eating space. But there is a black table kind of right in the middle of the Duck. It's a big like octagon type table. And I think that was really the first spot that I found my people, if that makes sense. I felt very comfortable. It's a very inclusive space and it's a very like loving space.
So we talked a little bit earlier about the collaborative culture at WashU, but I'm seeing a question here about how you describe the WashU culture. So aside from that, how big are sports? How's school spirit? How would you describe the atmosphere at WashU?
Okay, that's a really good question. I think that what I have found is that like everyone loves WashU, like just in general, and our like everyone like honestly, I mean I'm literally wearing WashU. I see WashU shirts all the time. Like I think our school has a lot of like pride. I would say I think everyone is really happy to be here. Everyone wants to be here, and I think that like we have a lot of like support, and I've everyone I've talked to has been like, oh yeah, no, and I love it here. And it's just been a really good experience to like be on campus in a place where honestly, like the general vibe I get when I walk around is just like happy and like and obviously collaborative academically, but I get the vibe when I walk around. I see people outside playing frisbee or like walking and getting lunch with their friends, and like the general vibe on campus that I've felt so far has just been like really like excited to be here, really happy. And I think everyone has a lot of pride in our school. Like I know, I don't know, I really get the vibe that people really want to be here and they love being here. So
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think coming from the East Coast, the culture, I think in the Midwest really seeps into WashU. Just a lot more like hospitality. People are a lot nicer. If someone opens the door for you, you're always gonna say thank you. It's just a lot of like really nice general like kindness, I think all the time. And everyone here is just like really, really nice. Like I talk to like my friends, and the word that when I think of the WashU community is just nice. I genuinely think that I could walk up, like just on campus, walk up to anyone and start a conversation with them. They'd be fully willing to talk to me, ask a question, have a nice conversation. And I think especially at the beginning when it was those 2 weeks, where it was only freshmen on campus, and since everyone was in the same area in the South 40, I would just walk up to like one person, I'd have a conversation with someone and I'd make a new friend. I think that that really embodies the culture of WashU. It's just really fun, collaborative, kind people. And I also agree with what Miranda says. Um, I think a lot of the school pride and like the culture around that really manifests itself in that people are just happy and proud to be WashU students. Um, and I think it's not as much about like going to sports games and stuff. That also might be different because I am just a first year, so I haven't really experienced all of that stuff. But I think what is cool about that though is that people who are on sports teams are kind of just regular people. I remember I've had many conversations with somebody where I'm just talking to someone and then I like later find out that they're like a really incredible athlete. And I think that that's really cool. I think that, and that speaks to like the larger culture at WashU, is like you can have a conversation with somebody about like anything and have like a make a new friend, and then you find out what they're interested in or what they're good at, and they're like doing the most unique or interesting or fascinating thing, and you meet so many different types of people, that I think that that's really what the culture embodies, especially because WashU, it's so good to double major across schools, and it's really good for kids who have a wide variety of academic interests. You get people who are really interested in interesting, cool, fun things that you would never like think of. I know I have a friend who's majoring in history on the pre-med track. And I feel like that wouldn't really be able to do at other schools, but you meet people like that all the time at WashU.
Yeah, rare to find someone that's only studying just one thing. We had to, as many schools, had to cancel some of our sports this past year. So certainly the school spirit regarding sports has been different during this past year, but we're looking forward to future years when we can all come together and cheer on the Bears together. I had two members of the men's basketball team on my freshman floor. I will never forget going to see them and just seeing them a few hours later and being able to talk about the game. So they're just normal people all around you in your classes, but also awesome on the court. I'm curious what off-campus safety is like in the area where WashU is located, and for those of you that explored other parts of St. Louis, what that's been like for you.
Yeah, I can talk about that. So, one of the main places, especially for me as a freshman, that I love to go on the weekends or even like in the week, is the Loop, the Delmar Loop, and it's about like from campus, it's about like a 7-minute walk. And I go at night with three of my girlfriends, and I feel totally comfortable. There's kind of like a path, to be really specific. There's kind of like a pathway from campus to the Loop, and I usually see multiple like security people or um, anything like that. And I've always felt really safe going off campus. And then I guess like also on campus, I don't know if people talk about this, we have like the blue light system. I see them all around. So I personally have never felt unsafe. I do live on campus, but even going off campus, I've always felt pretty safe.
I also think that the surrounding neighborhoods around WashU is very safe. Whenever I go on runs, it's always very nice to just see people living their daily lives. And it's very family oriented in the neighborhoods around where a lot of houses, families do live there, and they'll sometimes walk around campus just to see how pretty it is. And it's just very calm and nice to see, especially on the weekends when it's nice out.
All right, we've got a few more questions here before we'll have to call it time. But the next question is, How difficult is it to find leadership opportunities, and how do you get involved with student groups on campus?
Um, so currently I am a part of the first year class council, which is the freshman student government. I'm serving as their vice president of finance or treasurer, and it's been a really fun experience. And really, they just sent an email about elections, and I thought, hey, this sounds really fun, and I'd love to get more involved on campus. So I ran, and fortunately, I won the election, and it's just been a very awesome experience. And I know other people have been involved in the legislative bodies on campus, like Senate, Treasury, that just serve to represent the students.
Yeah. And then even I think more on an individual club level, I can tell you a little bit about my in the business fraternity that I'm in. I'm so when you get into a business fraternity, you start off pledging. So you kind of go through the process of getting initiated and then you become a full-time member. And even as a pledge, you were able to run for president or secretary, or I think it was like social chair or philanthropy chair. And even like on an individual club level, I think there's a lot of different ways to get involved with leadership. And I've personally found like joining student groups to be really accessible. And I found a lot of the leadership opportunities are there if you want them. If you want to apply yourself and you go out for it, like they're super available. And I think it's been, at least for me through the business frat, it's been a really good way to get that experience.
All right, what is your favorite thing about WashU?
I think my favorite thing about WashU is definitely the classes. I feel like I brag about the classes that I'm able to take to all of my friends all the time. Like I'll call my parents about it. I talk to anybody who will listen about the classes that I'm able to take. I took a class on narcissism here, the dog breeds class. I took a class on like HIV and AIDS. I took a class on mindfulness. There are just so many interesting classes that WashU offers. There's a class on body art and body modification that is being offered next semester. And I just think that's so cool. All of the classes are so interesting.
Um, I think for me, I would probably say I really do agree with the classes, and I think the professors are also amazing. I've never had a bad professor here. I mean, I've been here for a year, but I've literally never had a bad professor. But I would say the people. We've talked a lot about like the WashU environment and the WashU culture and the WashU everything. But the people that makes that are the people that go here, and I honestly have found people with so much depth. And a lot of like people are just so interesting. And like even Isaac mentioned this earlier, like you can be talking to someone and find out that they're in this super cool club or something. And I honestly find that like people here really do have a lot of depth. They're really fun, they're really happy, and everyone works really hard and is really like-minded. And I love everyone here, and I would have to say like the people and the communities I've been able to find.
I'd have to say the atmosphere, building off of what was already discussed. I remember in high school that when I'd walk around school, a lot of kids would have earbuds in, not talking to people. I was one of those kids, and it wasn't very welcoming. Whereas most people, they're just walking around, enjoying the weather, focused on just getting to where they are, but they'll stop and have a conversation with you if you pass them. Or even if they're on rushing somewhere, they will take the time to stop for a second, talk to you, and communicate that they're on their way somewhere. And it's just nice to be part of such driven, but also such friendly peers.
Yeah, to echo what everyone else has been saying, just I think the culture and the people at WashU are really what make it. It's just I love being in a community of so many people who are just like-minded to me, and not like-minded in the sense that we're all studying the same thing or have the same background, but people who are similarly driven. I It's so nice just having a friend group of people who I know when we say that we're going to go all study together, like we'll actually study and we can have a good time too. But it's really nice meeting people who I know are kind of on the same level as me and who will um, be putting in effort, but also willing to have a fun time. I've met some of the most fun, interesting people, and I'm just able to meet so many people who I really click with and I really connect with. And I think if you got into WashU, you got in for a reason because the students who go here are all really kind, hardworking, interesting people who are academically focused, but also fun and ready to have a good time as well. And I feel like I found that in all of the people I've met. And it's just really fun that I can like text someone who I met like in the first week right now, and I could like get dinner with them. And I do that sometimes. Just like recreating connections and meeting lots of different people who are really like-minded to myself. I think it's really fun. It's really nice being in this like such a tight-knit community.
All right, and that does it for our webinar tonight. Another thank you to our panelists and another huge congratulations to all of the admitted students who joined us tonight. If you have any additional questions after this, please reach out to our office so we can be sure to get them answered. We'll also be offering a number of other webinars and other virtual programs throughout April that you can check out in your admitted student portal. And we hope to see you at some of those. But until then, thank you for being here and enjoy the rest of your evening.